The next question comes from Necrom23, who wants to know how film noir, the pure Western, hardly exists these days, and point out some great examples from modern times. These seem like timeless genres, so what happened? Well, I think the short answer is that times change. It's funny, though, because I think these two genres are both purely American art forms, and yet we rarely see them anymore. I don't know, people just aren't as fascinated with Westerns anymore. They aren't bankable films like they used to be. I mean, geez, back in the days with John Ford and John Wayne, these movies were a dime a dozen. They were always coming out. And, I think film noir is generally a hard sell to large audiences, mostly because they tend to be cynical and dark. And, a lot of people just want to see puppies and people in fat suits. So instead, their concepts and themes are kind of dressed up in different genres. New suit, same underpants. In film noir, it's actually called neo-noir. And I'll talk about film noir first. I once took this class in college that was called Kiss Me Deadly. And when I signed up for the class, I had no idea what it was about, just called Kiss Me Deadly. And I said, a class called Kiss Me Deadly has to be awesome, no matter what it is. And it turns out that it was actually a study on film noir. And it turned out to also be one of the best classes I ever had. It was fantastic. I couldn't believe I was sitting in a class getting graded on watching film noirs. And a lot of the classics are movies like Out of the Past, The Big Sleep, Maltese Falcon, Double Indemnity, anything starring Robert Mitchum, all safe bets, and great examples of what film noir, embodied. Later movies, Chinatown is a really, really good example. I just rewatched that a couple weeks ago, and man, that movie's really good. Taxi Driver, The Last Seduction with Linda Fiorentino, and pretty much every Coen Brothers movie, including The Big Lebowski. If you watch The Big Lebowski, there are many traits of film noir going on in that film. Now, like I said, they like to dress up noir in other things these days. Sci-fi noir is pretty popular. Sci-fi lends itself to that style. Terminator, I consider that sci-fi noir. I wrote a paper for that Kiss Me Deadly class on how Terminator is a sci-fi noir. Dark City, Blade Runner, also great sci-fi noirs. Closest we have to like modern day noirs, Usual Suspects, LA Confidential, Memento, Hollywoodland, and Sin City, I guess, But most recently, some of the film noirs that we've seen are kind of using gimmicks to keep them fresh. One example is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which I would probably consider a comedy noir. But, man, I love that movie. Robert Downey Jr. is awesome in that movie. Val Kilmer's great. And it's just a really fun, great take on film noir. Also, a movie called Brick, which if you haven't seen, it's on Netflix Instant right now. You should go watch it. Stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And I basically just call it a high school noir. It's a really good movie. It's not for everyone. It takes a little while to get used to their speech patterns and everything, but you could tell that Rian Johnson, the director, just really loves film noir and wanted to pay homage to that. Now with Westerns, it's kind of the same deal. People just try and disguise their Westerns as other things to get people into the theaters. Firefly and Serenity, people consider that a space Western. No Country for Old Men is a Western that takes place in the 80s. Cowboys and Aliens is a great example of how not to do it. Back to the Future 3, dropping Marty McFly in a Western. I've even read comparisons to The Gray, calling that a Western, where they just substitute the wolves for the Indians. So even though it's not there front and center, you can find a lot of elements of Westerns in other movies. But that doesn't mean there aren't modern Westerns out there worth seeing. Obviously, True Grit, the remake, was an excellent example of that. 3:10 to Yuma, also another remake. The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford. Long movie, slow movie, but definitely a Western. Going a little further back, I really liked Open Range with Kevin Costner and Robert Duvall. A couple years, I think it was like 2003. It had a great shootout at the end. And of course, you want to go a little bit further back, Tombstone, Unforgiven. Those are classic movies. Pretty sure Unforgiven won Best Picture. So Westerns are viable, but again, they've kind of become a niche, which is weird because they're wholly American.